And okay, so boom, we're in business. Y'all, today what we're going to do, we're going to go over some fractions, decimals, and percents. Okay, so y'all, the first thing here is when we're talking about a percent, is a percent means out of 100. Okay, that's what a percent means. So per y'all means to divide. If you think about the word cent, right? Like cien in Spanish, right? Or how many cents in a dollar? 100 pennies, right? So it's out of 100. Okay, so y'all, when I start reading through this problem, the first thing I want you to notice right here, how many adults were asked? Anybody know? 100, right? Okay, so that's part is really important because it says 100 adults and percent means out of 100. Okay, so 100 adults were asked to name their favorite sport, and the results are shown in the circle graph. Okay, what sport was preferred by the most adults? So y'all, if I look at my pie chart here, right, or my circle graph, what is the biggest piece there? Football, right? Okay, now y'all, because we asked 100 people, right? Because we asked 100, we can say what percent? Well, 37 out of 100, y'all, so that would just be 37%. Okay. Now, y'all, it's really important that we ask this out of 100. Okay. If it wasn't out of 100, I can just put 37%. But because it is out of 100, we can. All right. Well, guys, we'll figure out what happens if it's not out of 100. We'll figure that out in a minute. Okay. What sport was preferred by the least number of adults? So, what's the smallest piece of that pie? Volleyball, right? Okay. I don't know. When I was a kid, I always liked playing volleyball, but whatevs. 3%, right? Okay. Now, y'all, for the next one here, it says what percent of adults preferred football or soccer? So, y'all, we're going to take the football circle and we're going to take the soccer piece and we're going to add those together. So, 37 plus 13 should be 50. Y'all, that's the same thing as 50%, right? Okay. And then the last question says, what percent of adults preferred basketball or baseball? So look, y'all, we're going to take the basketball piece, which is 20, and we're going to add up the baseball piece, which is 15. That should give us 35. And because it's out of 100, y'all, that's going to be 35%. Okay. So what do you think? First problem, pretty straightforward. Nothing too out of the ordinary, right? Okay. Y'all, I'm going to keep scrolling down here, okay? And I'm going to take a look at the next problem that we have. So the next problem I have here, my list says, look, y'all, a basketball player made 86 out of 100 attempted free throws. So let's think about what that means. It means that the player went up there. He tried to make the basket 100 times, right? He tried 100 times. But out of the 100, he made how many? 86. Wouldn't that be 86%? Again, because it's out of 100. So look, y'all, boom, there's my answer. Choice D, right? So again, y'all, one of the things I mentioned yesterday was when I pulled these questions, y'all, I took a couple of years ago, y'all, I took the TSI test myself. So one thing I noticed was that every question in the TSI, guys, is multiple choice. Okay. So the nice thing about that, you know that one of the answers is there, right? You know that the right answer is going to be one of them there. Okay. But the other thing is that when you get the answer and you see that the answer you get is one of their choices, then like, okay, that gives you a little bit more reassurance too, right? So that's kind of what my rationale was here. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the next one, y'all. So next part here says a group of 100 adults. Again, that part's really important. So I got 100 people here. They were asked what type of cake was their favorite. The circle graph on the right shows the results. What percent preferred marble cake? So look, y'all, let's take a look. Remember, we're talking about 100 people, and we have 12 people who liked marble. Wouldn't that be 12%? Boom, there's my choice C, right? Okay, so y'all, when I'm doing these problems, the only time I really look at my answer choices, y'all, is at the end, right? Because if I come back over here and I start seeing something like 1/12 or like I start seeing all these other numbers, right? Like, whoa, why are they coming up with that? It doesn't matter. We know that the answer is going to be 12%, right? So don't let the answer choices kind of skew you. You know what I mean? Don't let them throw you off. Okay. All right. So, y'all, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out how do we go from a percent to a fraction. Okay. So, y'all, remember what a percent means? A percent means out of 100, right? So look what it says, y'all. To change a percent to a fraction, we're going to drop the percent sign, and then we're going to put that number over 100. After that, y'all, we're going to try to simplify the fraction if we can, okay? So what I mean by this, look what it says, y'all, right? 7% is a fraction. Remember what 7% means? It means 7 out of how much? Okay, so 7 out of 100. Y'all, I can't do anything with those numbers, right? 7 and 100 don't have anything in common, so there's not much I can do, okay? Now, I'm going to do the same thing, y'all, for the next part. It says express 150% as a fraction. So remember, 100%, y'all, means out of 100. So I'm going to write 150 out of 100. Okay, now, y'all, we want to know if we can reduce this fraction. Reducing the fraction, y'all, just means we're going to make the numbers smaller, okay? So there's a couple things we can do here. One thing we can do is we can say, look, they both end, sorry, my pen's freezing up. They both end in a 0, so we can get rid of those. And now we have 15 over 10. Y'all, in the Blackboard shell, let me come back this way. One of the things that I put here for you guys, let me see if I can find it, is, here we go, multiplication table. Okay, let's see. Okay, you're good. Okay, just checking if you're good, Marcelino. Okay, so guys, we have multiplication table. All right. So y'all, when I come back and I'm looking at my problem here, 15 over 10, right? What I'm going to do, y'all, is I'm going to look at my chart. And I want to see, do I see 15 and 10, y'all, either in the same column going up or down, or in the same row going left and right? So if you notice right here, y'all, here's a 15 and 10. They're in the same column. They're in the column with the 5s, right? So 5 goes into 10 how many times? And 5 goes into 15? 3 times, right? So y'all, we're really saying we can divide both of these here by 5. And we said 5 went into 10 twice and 5 went into 15 3 times, right? So that's really all I'm doing here, y'all. I'm reducing my fractions. I'm making my numbers smaller, okay? Now, y'all, the original problem we had here was 150 over 100, okay? So again, one thing we could have done, y'all, when we got started was we could have looked here. We could have said, look, here's 100, here's 150, right? They're in the same columns as the 10s. So 10 went into 100 10 times, right? And 10 went into 115 15 times. That's how I was able to get rid of those zeros there, right? Because in essence, that's what we're really doing, all right? Y'all, when you reduce your fractions, there's a bunch of ways you can go about doing it, right? But the idea is you're trying to make the numbers as small as they can. Whatever you're dividing the top number by, y'all, you got to be able to divide the bottom number by that same thing. So if you decide, look, I want to divide 15 by 3, well, 3 doesn't go into 10, so you can't do it. You know what I mean? It's got to be the same number, okay? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's a good question. So, y'all, this is what we call an improper fraction, where the number on top is bigger than the number on the bottom. It's okay to have improper fractions, okay? It's all right. Good question, though. Let's see, y'all, how do we change a percent to a decimal? Okay, so if we're going to change a percent to a decimal, y'all, we're going to divide the number by 100, and then we're going to drop the percent sign. So, guys, let me show you what I'm going to do here. We have 38%, okay? We're going to take the number 38, and we're going to divide it by 100. So, look, y'all, I'm going to take my calculator, 38. I'm going to divide it by 100. Boom, 0.38, and then we're going to drop the percent sign. So right here, y'all, 0.38. That's all I'm doing, okay? Now, another way you can go about doing this, y'all, without having to take your calculator every single time, is every number, y'all, has a decimal point. Whether I see it or whether I don't, there's a decimal point there. In this case, y'all, in the decimal point in the number 38% is at the end, okay? Dividing the number by 100 is the same thing as, moving the decimal point, two spaces to the left, right? So look, y'all, I want you to notice, where is the decimal point? It's after the 8. We're going to move it 2 spaces, 1 and 2. Now it's in front of the 3, right? And then dropping the percent sign, okay? So look, y'all, I'm going to do that with the next couple of problems I got. I got 4%. So look, y'all, even though I don't see it, my decimal point's right there. Now remember, we're going to move it 2 spaces, y'all, to the left. So here's my decimal point. I'm going to go 1. I'm going to go 2. Now, y'all, if I went over here, I need to put something in that space. Anybody know what that something is? Very good. So 0.04, okay? Y'all, let's take a look at the next one, 175%. Again, remember, y'all, my decimal is right here at the end. We're going to move it how many spaces to the left? Twice, right? So look, right now it's behind the 5. It's between the 5 and the 7. Now it's between the 1 and the 7, right? Very good, 1.75, okay? All right, same thing here with this last one, y'all. Look, my decimal point's right here. We're going to go 2 spaces, 1 and 2. So what do we got to put there again? Very good, 0.052. Excellent, y'all. Okay. So going from a percent to a decimal, y'all, we move our decimal point 2 spaces to the left, right? Okay, now, look, y'all, if we're going to go from a decimal to percent, we're going to multiply by 100, and then we're going to add the percent sign. So, y'all, first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to take this number, and I'm just going to follow my steps. Multiply by 100, add the percent sign. So, look, y'all, I'm going to take my calculator. Let me clear this out. 0.27. And we said we're going to multiply that guy by 100. Okay. Boom. I just get the number 27. And then we need to add the percent sign. So y'all look, 27%. Okay. Y'all, what we can do here is we can move the decimal point 2 spaces, but what direction now? To the right. Very good. Look, y'all, the decimal used to be here. Before the 2, we went once, we went twice. Now it's after the 7. Remember, y'all, if I don't see it, it's always understood to be at the very end, right? Y'all, I'm going to do the same thing here. Look, I'm going to take my decimal point, and we're going to move it 2 spaces to the right. So I'm going to go 1, and I'm going to go 2. Now, y'all, if I do that, what do I got to put right there? What do I got to put right here, though? A 0, right? Because we're moving it 2 spaces. Right? So 1 and then 2. If there's a space there, y'all, we got to fill it in with a 0. Okay. That's right. Look, so y'all, I'm going to do the same thing. 1 and 2. Now it's at the end of the 9, just 9%. Right? Y'all, same thing over here. I'm going to move it 2 spaces, 1 and 2. What do I got to put right there? There you go. 140%. Okay. Good. Excellent, y'all. All right, guys, I'm going to keep scrolling down here. And what we're going to do, y'all, we're going to figure out how do we write fractions as decimals. Okay, y'all, for these problems, we are going to use our calculators. Okay, so it says to write a fraction as a decimal, divide the numerator by the denominator. Okay, so y'all, look, I'm going to grab my calculator. Y'all, like I said, I was telling you all this yesterday that when you take the test, there's going to be certain problems where a calculator is going to pop up and you'll have access to it. There's going to be certain problems where their calculator is not going to be there and you're going to have to use your memory. Okay. But y'all, we're going to take the number on top. We're going to divide it by the number on the bottom. So 1 divided by 4, 0.25. So right here, y'all, 0.25. Okay. Do the same thing with the next one, y'all. 3 divided by 8, 0.375. Okay. Right here, y'all, 4 divided by 5, 0.8. Okay. And one more, y'all, 23 divided by 4, 5.75? Good. Boom. There we go. Okay. So how do we go from a fraction to a decimal? Just take your calculator, divide. Top number always divided by the bottom one. Now, y'all, when I look at the next problem, one thing I want you to notice, look what it says. Change each fraction to a percent. Well, y'all, I want you to notice that the fractions that we have here are the same fractions that we had up here, right? So we already know how to go from this fraction to a decimal. So we know that that's a 0.25. Now, does anybody remember, how do I go from 0.25 to a percent? 2 to the right. So look, y'all, 1 and 2, boom, 25%, right? This one here, y'all, as a decimal was 0.375. So we go 1 and 2, 37.5, boom, with a percent, right? The 4/5, y'all, was 0.8. So we go 1 and 2. What do we got to put there? A 0, 80%, right? Okay. Y'all, this one here is a decimal, was 5.75. Again, if I move my decimal point 2 spaces, 1 and 2, 575%. And there you go, right? So, y'all, if I have a fraction and I want to write that fraction as a percent, we can change that fraction to a what? To a decimal. And then we can go from the decimal to the percent, right? Good, good, good. Y'all, let me scroll down a little bit further. Okay. And we're going to go again from percents, y'all. Now we're going to change our percent. We're going to go back and we're going to write it as a fraction. We did a couple of these already, but I just want to make sure that we're still good with it. Okay. Remember we said, y'all, we're going to go from percent to a fraction. A percent means out of how much again? Out of 100. Okay. So look, y'all, 40%, 40 out of 100. Okay. Y'all, we're going to simplify it if we can. All right. What's the first thing y'all think we could do here? Is there anything we can get rid of? Let's get rid of one of the zeros, that 0 there, and one of those on the bottom. So look, y'all, now I got 4 and 10. Y'all, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to look at my multiplication table. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Do you see the numbers 4 and 10 either in the same column or in the same row? In the twos, right? So look, y'all, here's 4, here's 10. They're in the twos. That means we can divide them both by 2. So 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 goes into 10 5 times, right? So look, y'all, we're dividing them both by 2. And that's going to give us 2 over 5. Boom, perfect. Okay. Y'all, 125%. Again, we can write this as 125 over 100, right? Now, y'all, when I'm going to try to reduce this guy, I want you to think about when you were a kid and you had money and you had quarters. How many quarters did you need to get to $1? 4 quarters, right? And y'all, if you're still dealing with quarters, how many quarters does it take to get $1.25? 5. Boom. And what we really did here, y'all, is we divided both of them by 25, right? And why 25? Because I said, think about when you were a kid and you had quarters. If you had 4 quarters, you had $1. If you had 5 quarters, you had $1.25, right? Okay. Y'all, remember what we said? A percent means out of 100, right? Okay, so y'all, when I look at this problem here, remember, a percent means out of 100, y'all. So I can write this, y'all, as 1.9 out of 100, because just like the way we did this when we wrote 40 out of 100 and we wrote 125 out of 100, y'all, I'm going to write 1.9 out of 100. But this problem here looks off. It looks off in the sense that we have a decimal within our fraction. So, y'all, let's do this. If I wanted to get rid of this decimal here, we could move that decimal 1 space over, and that would give me a 19. And I know that my decimal is still there. It's at the end, but I don't see it anymore, right? Yo, if we move this one over 1 space, we got to add an additional 0, and now we have 19 over 1,000. Does that make sense? Okay, so yo, the reason why we did that is we don't want to have the decimal within the fraction, okay? The fact that we only needed to move the decimal point one space just so that the decimal wouldn't show up told me that I needed to add one more zero. Now, y'all, I'm going to show you one additional problem that I haven't written on here, but I want to show you because I want y'all to understand sort of the basic idea, okay? Look, y'all, let's do this. 1.93%, okay? Y'all, I would do the same thing. I would write 1.93 out of how much? A percent means out of how much? Out of 100. Okay. But y'all, one thing I want you to notice here. In order for me to get rid of my decimal point here, we have to move it how many spaces? Okay, so we would write 193. Now, y'all, we move that one 2 spaces. We got to add how many zeros now? We got to add 2 zeros, right? So the idea is if I move this decimal point 2 spaces, then I got to add 2 zeros. If we only needed to move it over 1 space, then we only had to add 1 0. Does that make sense? And if I had to move something 3 spaces, y'all, then I would add 3 zeros, so on and so forth, okay? But that's the objective here, okay? Is that if you have a decimal within your fraction, that's how you fix it, okay? Now, y'all, in those 2 problems, I didn't do any reducing because we can't break those numbers down, okay? All right, y'all, we're going to come back to the 33 1/3% in a minute. Let's try the 400% and the 275%. Okay, so first thing, y'all, percent means out of how much? Okay, so look, y'all, 400 out of 100. How many times does 100 go into 400? Does it go in nice and neat? No? Could we multiply 100 by anything to get 400? How much? By 4. Boom. Goes in nice and neat, goes in 4 times. We just divided it out, right? Look, y'all, we just said, look, what's 400 divided by 100? Boom, 4. Okay. Y'all, again, I'm going to do the same thing with this one. We'll come back and do the 33 1/3 one in a second. 275% means 275 out of 100. Okay, y'all, let's think about quarters. Let's divide them both by 25, okay? So we already said 4 quarters makes $1. We want to know how many quarters would it take to make $2.75. 11, boom, there you go. 11 over 4, okay. All right, so y'all, let's talk about this guy here now. I'm going to do it over here on the side because I'm kind of running out of room there. So we have 33 1/3%. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, y'all, this right here is what we call a mixed number. What we want to do is we want to see if we can make this into an improper fraction, y'all, where the number on top is going to be bigger than the number on the bottom. The way we do that, y'all, we multiply the number on the bottom times the whole number part. What's 3 times 33? Anybody know? What's 3? Very good. 99, right? 99. Y'all, we're going to take 99. We're going to add the number on top. What's 99 plus 1 more? 100. So look, y'all, we got 100 over 3 with a percent. Okay. Now, y'all, we said a percent means out of how much? Out of 100. Okay. So look, y'all, this is what we're going to do. We're going to write it like this. Instead of writing it as with the division sign, guys, I'm going to go like this, times 1 over 100, because that 100 is still on the bottom. Okay. Now, a couple things we could do here, y'all. If we multiplied straight across, 100 times 1 is still, and 3 times 100 is, okay. Y'all, can we get rid of some zeros here? Can we get rid of those 2 zeros and those 2 zeros? So all we're left with, y'all, 1/3. Okay. There you go. All right. So y'all, I'm going to scroll back over here and I'm going to keep scrolling down to see what we got here. Okay. So look, y'all, let's change our fractions to a percent. Okay. So y'all, again, we did some problems like this a little while ago. So y'all, the first thing I would recommend that we do, again, with a couple of these problems like here, like say this one here, 9 over 20. Y'all, first thing I'll do is I say, what's 9 divided by 20? Isn't that 0.45? Okay. Y'all, do you know how we would take 0.45 and make that into a percent? Two spaces to the right. So if it's now behind the 5, wouldn't that just be 45%? Okay. Y'all, I'm going to come back to the 2/3 one in a second. I want to jump down to this guy right here for right now. Okay, we'll come back and we'll do that one in a minute. But let's take a look at this guy. Y'all, here again is my improper fraction. Let's change this guy to, I'm sorry, this mixed number. Let's change this guy to an improper fraction. So we're going to multiply those numbers. What's 1 times 2? 2. Then we add the number on top. 2 plus 1 more? 3. Y'all, 3 over 2. That's what 1.5 means. It means 3 over 2. Let's take 3 over 2, y'all, and let's change that to a decimal. Okay. So 3 divided by 2, 1.5. Okay. Y'all, how do we take 1.5 and now change it to a percent? We got to move it 2 spaces. Which way? To the right. Y'all, if we do that, what do we got to put there? 150%. Boom. There you go. Okay. So y'all, when I see a number like 2/3, okay, what I'm going to do here, y'all, I'm going to take 2 over 3. And remember, you guys, when we're moving our decimal point 2 spaces, what we're really doing, y'all, is we're multiplying by 100 and we're adding the percent sign. So I'm going to multiply by 100 over 1, and I'm just going to put the little percent sign there. Okay. Y'all, when I do this, if I go straight across, that's going to give me 200 over 3 with a percent. Okay. Now, y'all, I'm going to change this part here. This is a mixed number. We're going to change that back. We're going to change that to, I'm sorry, that's an improper fraction. We're going to change it to a mixed number. Y'all, let me show you how we're going to do that. Do y'all remember back like in 4th grade and you had to do long division like this, right? And nobody really liked doing this kind of long division. Guys, when we did this, first thing we'd say, well, does 3 go into 2? No, because 3 is too big. But couldn't 3 go into what number? 20. Okay, y'all, I'm going to show you using your multiplication table how you can do this. Here's my 3s, y'all. I'm going to go down, or I'm going to look at my 3s and I'm going to go to the right. I want to find the first number closest to 20, but doesn't go over 20. 18, right? Because the next number is what? That's too much. Okay, 18. So what do we got to multiply 3 by to get 18? Okay, so look, y'all, we're going to come back over here. We're going to write a 6 right there. We're going to put an 18. We're going to subtract. 20 minus 18, y'all, is 2, right? Or sorry, yeah, we're going to bring down that 0. Okay, we're going to do the same thing. Hold on, we just did this right now. 3 went into 20 how many times? 6 times. That was 18, right? Isn't my remainder here 2? Okay, y'all, the way we write this now as a mixed number, this here is the big number part. What I mean by the big number part, the whole number, okay? My remainder, y'all, is going to be the number that's going to go on the top. And whatever number I had on the bottom here is going to stay down there. And we're just going to leave our little percent sign right there. So 66 2/3, okay, percent. So y'all, again, the reason why I'm doing it like this is, and you might say, why did you do it this way compared to the way we did all the other ones? Because y'all, if I were to take my calculator, like the way we did before, we said, what was 9, the first problem? We said, what was 9 divided by 20? 0.45, right? Okay, why don't we do that here? Because look, y'all, if we go 2 and we divide it by 3, look what we get. We get a decimal that repeats, right? And it goes on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, right? And you might say, well, it doesn't repeat. There's a 7 there. My calculator rounded for me, right? But that number really repeats. So where do I stop? You know what I mean? Where do we stop it? I mean, do we decide to put it there? Do we decide to put the decimal point there? It doesn't tell me anything about rounding. So this is the way we write our answer, that 66 2/3, right? Now, y'all, sometimes it is going to ask you to round, okay? So look at this one. It says write as a percent, and now it's telling me to round to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so look, y'all, this one here, the 1 over 12, The first thing we can do, y'all, we can go ahead and change that to a decimal. So look, y'all, I'm going to go 1 divided by 12. And again, I'm coming up with a number. It's not going to end, y'all, but it's okay. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to write 0.08. Y'all, I'm just going to write a bunch of threes. How many is a bunch? That looks like a bunch to me. Okay. Now, remember, if we're going to change this to a percent, we got to take our decimal point. We got to move it how many spaces? 2 spaces to the right. So look, y'all, 1 and 2. So, sorry. So we have 0, sorry, no 0. We have 8 point, and then a whole bunch of threes after that, right? How many is a whole bunch of threes? That looks like a whole bunch, right? Y'all, they're asking me to round this to the nearest hundredth. The hundredth, y'all, is the second decimal place. Okay. And so this is what we're looking at rounding. Okay. Now, guys, remember what rounding means. Rounding means, is this number closer to 8.33% or is it closer to 8.34%? What do you think? Which one does it look like it's closer to? 33, right? Excellent, y'all. So we're going to say it's closer to 8.33, not 8.34, right? But y'all, the idea here was I just wrote all my numbers out and then I rounded at the very, very end, right? Now, y'all, sometimes people ask me, how did I know that that was the 100th%? Y'all, think about this in terms of money. Aren't these my dimes? And aren't these here pennies, right? Okay, so like this would be $8, 3 dimes, 3 pennies, that kind of thing, right? Okay, but because these are my pennies, how many pennies do we need to get to $1? Not 50 pennies. 50 pennies gives me 50 cents, right? We need how many? 100, right? That's why it's the 100th percent. Does that make sense? Yeah. Good, good, good. All right. Yo, let's take a look at the next problem. Again, these here, multiple choice, right? We're looking for percent. Okay, and it says determine what percent of the figure is shaded. So, y'all, first thing I'm going to ask you here, how many little rectangles do we have in total? Total rectangles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Boom. Okay, out of those 8, y'all, how many are shaded? 3. 3 out of 8. Okay, look, y'all, we got a fraction. Can we change that fraction to a decimal? How would we change the fraction to a decimal? We would take 3 divided by what? 8. Awesome. 0.375. Okay, how would I take that decimal, y'all, and write it as a percent? 2 spaces to the right there. 37.5%. Now, y'all, I'm going to look at this answer here, and I'm going to look at the choices that we have. Does my answer resemble any of those choices? Choice C, right? Because isn't 0.5 the same thing as how much? Half, right? There's my answer. Boom, there we go. Okay. Excellent. Y'all, let's try to look at the next one here. Determine what percent of the figure is shaded. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, y'all, how many pieces in total do we have? 8. Okay, out of those 8, how many of them happen to be shaded? 5. Okay, can we do the same thing? Let's take 5, y'all. Let's divide it by 8, 0.625. And then if we want to write that as a percent, then we say we got to move how many spaces? 62.5%. Does that look like one of my choices? Choice A, right? Boom. Again, because 0.5, same thing as a half, right? Good, very good. All right, so y'all, I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. Okay, and what we're going to do here, we're going to figure out, excuse me, how to solve percent equations, y'all. Okay, in percent equations, there's three things I need to keep in mind. The first one, y'all, the word of means to multiply. The word is means equals. And the word what is going to be my x or my n or some variable. Okay, that's my unknown. Okay. So, y'all, what we want to do here is we want to see if we can set these problems up and solve them. Okay. So, look, y'all, it says 90.3 or 90.3 is what percent of 42? Okay. So, y'all, first thing I'm going to do, the first number I see, I'm going to write it down 90.3. What does the word is mean? So, we're going to put an equal sign. When I see the word what percent, y'all, what tells me you can pick one of the two letters, whether you want to use X, whether you want to use N, doesn't make a difference. I'm going to use the letter N, okay? N, now y'all, it says N percent, so I'm going to go like this, N percent. What does the word of mean to do? We're going to multiply that by 42. Now, y'all, what I'm trying to do here, y'all, I'm trying to solve for the letter N, meaning I want to get the letter N all by itself. Y'all, I'm going to divide everything by the number that's next to my N. The number next to my N is 42. Okay. So, guys, I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to say, what's 90.3 divided by 42? And I'm coming up with 2.15 equals N with a percent. 15, right? What did I write it for?
On the 42, you don't necessarily need the decimal, right?
There's no decimal. Remember, where's the decimal? It's at the end, right? Yeah. No, but look, there was no decimal point here, right? I haven't done anything yet, right? So just divided by 42. So look, y'all, 2.15. Now, what I need to do is I need to change this to a percent because it's asking me what percent. So y'all remember, if I'm going to go from a decimal to a percent, don't we got to move our decimal how many spaces? 2 spaces, right? So N is going to be 215%. Is that one of my choices? Boom. There we go. Okay. Y'all, if I can remember these three parts, of is multiply, is equals, and anytime I see the letter what, put an X or put an N or whatever, then I can solve every one of these problems. Okay. Look, y'all, I'm going to try to do the same thing with the next problem. All right. So I'm going to scroll down here, y'all. The first thing I see is I see the word what. I'm going to write the letter N. Y'all, because it says percent right next to it, I'm going to put a percent sign. Does anybody remember what does the word of mean to do? Multiply by 18. Anybody remember what the word is means? Equals 360. Look, y'all, we're trying to get the letter N by itself, so we're going to divide everything by 18. Okay. And percent equals, let's take our calculator, 360 divided by 18, 20. Okay. Now, y'all, I need to change that to a percent. So I'm going to take my decimal point, y'all, 1 and 2. That means what do I got to put there? Zeros, right? Boom. 2,000%. Is that one of my choices? Boom. There it is, right? Good. Very good. Y'all, let me keep scrolling down here. Okay. And it says, what percent of 20 is 2? So again, first thing I'm going to do, y'all, I see the word what. I'm going to write N with a percent. What do we say of meant to do? Multiply by 20. What do we say is meant? Equals 2. Very good. Look, y'all, we want to get rid of the 20, so let's divide both sides by 20. I'm going to take my calculator again, y'all. 2 divided by 20. 0.01 or 0.1, I'm sorry. Now, y'all, remember, I need to take my decimal point. We got to move it 2 spaces to the right. 1 and 2. What are we going to put right here? 0. So look, y'all, 10%. Is that one of my choices? Boom. And there we go. Okay. Y'all, what is always my N? Of always means multiply. Is always means equals. If I can remember those three things, y'all, I should be able to do each of these problems, okay? Let me keep scrolling down a little bit further, y'all. Let's take a look at this next one. 75% of 192 is what number? Okay, first thing, y'all, if the number is given to me as a percent, let's write that percent, y'all, as a decimal, okay? So 75% as a decimal, y'all, remember, we're going to take our decimal point. It's right here. We're going to move it 2 spaces which way? Okay, so 0.75. Okay. What did we say the word of meant to do? Multiply. Times what number in this case? 192. What did we say is meant? Equals what number? That's my n. Look, y'all, the n is by itself. All we got to do is multiply those numbers. 0.75 times 192, and I'm coming up with 144. And if you notice, y'all, boom, that's our choice A, right? Good, good, good. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Why were we putting 2? Okay, because in the previous problems, we were always looking for a what? We were always looking for a percent, right? So whenever we got our answer as a decimal, we always had to move it 2 spaces to the right, right? Now, in this problem, we were given the percent to begin with, right? So we wrote that percent as a decimal. And again, I'm just following whatever the instructions tell me to do. So if it says 75%, 0.75 of means to multiply it by 192, and I'm done, right? If it's asking me for a percent, then I got to move my decimal point 2 spaces to the right, right? But it wasn't asking me for the percent. It was just like, what's the number here, right? Good, good, good. Y'all, let's take a look at the next one. Again, I'm going to do the same thing here. Look, 24. So I'm going to write down 24. What do we say is means? Equals. Okay, look, y'all, 4%. Let's change that percent to a decimal. Y'all, if it's 4%, remember the decimal point is understood to be at the end. We're going to move it 1. We're going to move it 2. What number do we got to put here? So 0.04. What do we say the word of means to do? Times what number? That's my n. Okay. Now look, y'all, I'm trying to solve for the letter n. So I want to get rid of that number 0.04. So we're going to divide by it. Okay. So let's take our calculator. Let's take 24 divided by 0.04. 600. That's what I'm coming up with. And if you notice here, y'all, there's my choice C, right? Y'all, the important thing to realize here in doing these problems is equals, of means multiply, what means n, and get the letter n by itself, right? If you can get the letter n by itself, then you're on the right track, y'all. Okay. Let's take a look. See here, y'all. 20% of what number is 76? Okay, first thing is, anybody know how would I write 20% as a decimal? 0.20. Good. What do we say the word of meant? Multiply. When I see the word what number, we're going to write the letter. And the word is means 76. There you go. Look, y'all, we're trying to solve for the letter n. Let's divide by the number in front of the n. Okay. So, y'all, I'm going to take my calculator right here. 76 divided by 0.20, 380. And again, there's my choice A, right? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Y'all, let me scroll down a little bit further. Okay, so y'all, what I have here are some applications of percent, okay? The only thing here that's different, y'all, is that these are in the context of word problems, okay? In these problems, guys, there's going to be some things that I'm going to have to figure out, like what is it asking me to do here, okay? So, y'all, when I look at this problem here, it says Patricia got 56 out of the 77 questions right on last Monday's test. What percent of the test did she do correctly? Round to the nearest hundred. Y'all remember the problem we did right now where we had something that looked like this and we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? And we had something like this. There were 3 out of the 8 that were shaded, right? This is in essence the same type of problem, except instead of having a total of 8 boxes, we actually have a total of how many? 77. And out of those 77, how many of them happen to be shaded? It's that same sort of idea here, y'all. So look, let's take 56. Let's divide it by 77. Okay, so look, y'all, I'm coming up with this number here, right? Okay, guys, remember what we're going to do. We're going to move our decimal point 2 spaces to the right. The way I move it 2 spaces to the right, y'all, just multiply it by 100. So this right here, guys, this is going to give me 72.72%. Okay, 72. Let me fix that a little bit. Okay, now it is asking me to round to the nearest whole number. Y'all, what they want to know is 72.72, is that number closer to 72 or 73? Boom, right? Isn't it closer to 73, right? Like if you had $72.72, I know you don't have $73, but you're closer to having $73 than you are closer to having 72, right? Okay, let's see. Last year, Lee bought a share of stock for $9.40. She was paid a dividend of $5.64. Determine what percent of the stock price is the dividend, round to the nearest tenth. Okay, same kind of thing here, y'all. The total is the total amount that she bought it for, and then she made an additional $5.64. So look, y'all, 9.40, right? And the amount that she paid or that she was paid was $5.64, right? So y'all, I'm going to do the same thing here. Take my calculator. 5.64 divided by 9.40. Okay. And I'm going to multiply this by 100. Okay. Y'all, 60%. Is that one of my choices? There it is. Choice A, right? Okay. So, y'all, let's see if we can read through the next one and again, figure out what they're asking us to do here. Okay. Look, y'all, it says the Witcher family paid 17% of the purchase price of a home that cost 148 or 158,000, sorry, as a down payment. How much was their down payment? Y'all, how would we write 17% as a decimal? 0.17. Y'all, does anybody remember what does the word of mean to do? Multiply. Multiply by how much that house cost. That house cost 158,000. Y'all, again, on a problem like this, this is when your calculator is going to appear, y'all, when you're doing the test. They're going to give you the calculator for definitely for problems like this, right? So look, 0.17. Nobody's going to expect you to multiply this stuff out by hand. Okay. 26,860. Is that one of my choices here? Which one? Choice B? There it is. Boom. Right. All right. Y'all, I'm scrolling down to the next one here, and it says 30% of the students in a school are male. If there's 780 students altogether, how many are male? Round to the nearest whole number. Okay, first question, y'all. How would I write 30% as a decimal? 0.30. Does anybody, again, y'all, remember what does the word of mean? Multiply. The number of students. How many students do we have? Okay, we're trying to figure out how many guys are going to that school. 0.30 times 780, 234. Is that one of my choices? Yeah, choice A, right? There you go. Good. Very good. Okay, y'all, for the next problem that I have here, look what it says. It says Richard has $65.62 deducted from his monthly salary of $19.30 for a vacation savings plan. And it says, what percent of his salary is withheld for the vacation savings plan? Y'all, again, this is kind of very similar to the problem we did earlier with there were 77 questions and we got so many right. How much money is Richard supposed to be bringing home? Yeah, $1,930, right? But they're holding on to how much of it? $65.62. We want to know what percent are they holding. So look, y'all, this is supposed to be a decimal right here. Let's take our calculator and let's divide that out. $65.62 out of the total of $19.30. Okay. And then again, y'all, I'm going to multiply that number by 100 so I can write it as a decimal. 3.4%, y'all. Okay. 3.4%. That's how much money they're holding. Okay. So, y'all, I want you to think about this for a second, y'all. Richard's check, he has 100% of his check, right? Y'all, 3.4 of it, 3.4% of it, they withheld. What I want to know is, can we figure out how much of his check is not withheld? How much does he get to take? Well, y'all, I would just take 100 minus 3.4. He gets to take home what? 96.6%? Okay, so look, y'all, it says, what percent of Richard's salary is not withheld? So how much is not withheld? Anybody know? 96.6 is not withheld. And how much is withheld from his check? Okay, so guys, this is withheld. Sorry.
Wait, for the 100%, you subtracted the 3.4, right?
Yes, ma'am. Because they were withholding 3.4%, right? So that means that the percent that's not withheld would be the 96.6. Okay, so y'all, I want you to take a close look at this problem. Which would be the correct answer choice? A, B, C, or D? Letter D, right? Because look, 3.4% is withheld and 96.6 is not withheld, right? Look, guys, out of the 1,900, they're only holding on to $65. So they're holding on to a small part of it, right? So he gets to keep the bigger piece, right? And it's put his way. It's all his money anyway, right? They're just putting in his vacation thing. All right. Let's take a look. All right. So, guys, we still got some more application problems with percents here, okay? Y'all, it says in an office building, 16 offices are currently not being rented. This represents 5% of the total number of units. How many offices are in the building? Okay, so look, y'all, first thing I'm going to do here, the first number that I see in this problem, y'all, is the number what? Let's write that down. Okay. Y'all, when it says this, they're referring to the number 16, okay? This represents, what represents? That number 16 represents, y'all, represents is the same thing as the word is. What do we say the word is means? Guess again. Equals, right? Is means equals. Y'all, 5%. How would I write 5% as a decimal? 0.05. Very good. Okay, y'all, look at the word after 5%. Of, what did of mean? Multiply. The total number of units. I don't know what the total number of units is, y'all. I'm going to call that N. That's going to be my unknown. We're trying to figure out how many offices are in the building. So, y'all, in order for me to get rid of that 0.05, we need to divide. Okay. So, y'all, I'm going to take my number 16 divided by 0.05, and I'm coming up with 320. Okay. And if you notice, y'all, boom, there's my choice A, right? Again, y'all, in this problem, when I'm looking at it, it says there's 16 offices that are not being rented. And that's only 5%, right? So it's only 5%. That means that there has to be a whole lot more than 16, right? Because that 16 is only talking about a very small percent. So what's the total amount? The total amount would be 320. Okay. All right. Y'all, the next one here says the enrollment at a local college decreased by 3% over last year's enrollment of 1,900. Find the decrease in enrollment. Okay, so let's think about it this way. Y'all, first number of C is 3%. How would I write that as a decimal? 0.03, right? Okay, y'all, the other word I see here is the word of. Anybody remember what the word of means? Multiply times 1,900, right? So look, let's do that. Let's take 0.03 times 1,900, 57. Is that one of my choices?
Yeah.
Choice D. Okay. Now, y'all, this problem, the one we just did, and the next one are very similar. Okay. I want you to notice this one said find the decrease in enrollment. We did. Okay. This next problem, y'all, says the enrollment at a local college decreased by 9%. Wouldn't we set it up the same way? Right? And if it's 9%, look, if when it was 3%, we put 0.03. If it's 9%, we're going to put 0.09. Of meant to multiply. Okay, so 0.09 times 2,700. Okay, y'all, I'm coming up with 243, right? Now, before I go on, y'all, I want you to notice what the last sentence in that problem says. Find the current enrollment. Okay, so let's think about what does the decrease mean? Does the decrease means it goes up or it goes down? It goes down. Okay, so look, we found the decrease, but what we want to know is what is the new enrollment? That means we used to have 2,700 people coming to school, but 243 of them did not come back. We want to know how many people are going to school right now. Sorry, 2,700 minus 243. Right now, we only have 2,457 coming to school. Now, y'all, is that one of my choices? Okay, so guys, the one thing I want to point out about the difference between the two problems was the one where it had the 3%, it just asked us how many people did not come back. This question said, if those people didn't come back, how many people are coming to school now? Does that make sense? So, y'all, when you're doing these types of problems, and I want you to notice, y'all, if I would have stopped at 243 without reading the entire question, I might have been inclined to say, look, my choice is A, right? But the question is really asking me how many people are coming to school now. Does that make sense? So, y'all, again, in doing these types of problems, just take your time with them, okay? Sometimes it's, and again, the intention is not to trick you up. The intention is just make sure you read carefully, okay? Y'all, the next one says a union contract calls for a 5.9% salary increase for all employees. Determine the new salary for a worker who's currently making $35,440. Okay, so look, y'all, first thing we're going to do here 5.9% as a decimal, 0.059, right? Just like we did before, y'all, we're going to take that number and we're going to multiply it by our salary. Okay. 0.059 times 35,440. Okay, y'all, I'm coming up with 2,090 and 96 cents. Okay. Now, the question is asking me, can we find the new salary? Do y'all think this is how much the money they're making now, or do you think that's how much is going to be added to their salary? That's right. And it's going to be added, y'all, because it's a what? It's an increase. So doesn't that mean to find the new salary, doesn't that mean we got to take how much they were making before and add that to it? Okay. So let's add how much they were making before. 35,440. They're now making 37,530 and 96 cents. And is that one of my choices? Letter A. Boom. So again, y'all, I don't want to stop at the 20,000, right? That's their raise, but that's not what they're making now, right? All right, y'all. The next one says last year the profit for a company was 134,000. This year the profit decreased by 2.7%. Y'all, question: how would I write 2.7 as a percent? I mean, sorry, as a decimal. 0.027. Aren't we going to multiply that by? Excuse me. Aren't we going to multiply that by 134,000? Okay, 0.027 times 134,000. Okay, so y'all, that means that the percent was 300 or 3,618. Now, y'all, it says that it did what? It decreased. Does that mean it went up or went down? It went down. So don't we need to take 134,000? Very good. And Oscar says subtract the 3,618. Guys, 130,380 or 382. And that is letter D. There you go.
I'm gonna be honest with you, when I did those,
Uh-huh.
I come across those more than once and those were tricky. But then I looked at those keywords and that's how we got
That I'm glad that they do. I'm just kind of taking a look here to see what else we still got here. Okay, because we got a whole lot of percent. I didn't realize I put this many percent problems on here. Okay, so let's do this, guys. Let's do these, and let's see, guys. We'll finish. Let's do the percent, and let's take our break, guys, because again, we've already been at it for about an hour. Okay, so let's see. Y'all, we're looking for the percent, right? Look what it says here. Find the percent. Okay, look, y'all. We got a total of how many calories? 40. Out of those 40, how many come from fat? Okay, so look, y'all. Sorry. Out of the 40, 20 of them come from fat, right? So again, think about it this way. The total amount is 40, right? And so like 40 boxes, 20 of them are shaded, right? So look, guys, 20 divided by 40, 0.5. If I multiply that by 100, y'all, isn't that just going to give me 50%? Right? Think about it this way. Isn't 20 out of 40, isn't that half? And isn't half the same thing as 50%? Okay. Y'all, same thing here. Look at this next problem. Guys, and this problem here, I'm going to be honest with you. It's a little hard to find your total calories and how many come from fat. So look, y'all, what's the total number of calories here? But total, 190, right? And out of those 190, how many of them come from fat? Okay, so guys, let's do the same thing here. 130 divided by 190. Let's multiply it by 100. Okay, guys, we are rounding. I'm just going to show you right here. We are rounding to the nearest 10th. Y'all, 10th is the first decimal place. So the question I want to ask you, would you say that number is closer to 68.4 or 68.5? 0.4, right? 68.4%, y'all. Again, why am I stopping at the 0.4? Because it says to the nearest 10th. 10th is the first decimal place, y'all. Well, not necessarily because of that, but because of that too, right? That's why. That's right. 68.4%, y'all. Guys, the time that I would write 68.5 is if this 2 here was either a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, or a 9, then I would write 68.5 because I have to look at the number to the right of that last digit there, okay? That's right. That's right. Okay, so y'all, let's do this. Let's do percent increase and decrease, and then we'll take our break, guys, okay? Because again, I want us to everybody to have a little break here. Y'all, these problems here, I'm going to show you what I think is the easy breezy cover go way of doing these problems. Y'all, we're talking about an increase. If I used to have $50 and now I have 80, how much did it go up by? 30. If I used to have 8 and I went up to 12, how much did it go up by? Good. If I used to have 65 and now I have 117, guys, if you're trying to figure it out, all you got to do is this: go 117 minus 65. It went up by 52. Okay, from 68 to 170. Anybody know how much it went up by? 102. Excellent. Okay. Y'all, the way we're going to find the percent increase is we're going to take those numbers and we're going to divide them, y'all, always by the original amount. So I'm going to take 30. I'm going to divide it by 50. So let me do it over here, y'all, where I got some room. So 30 divided by 50 is 0.6. I can multiply it by 100 to get my percent. 60%. Okay. Y'all, the next one, 4. I'm going to divide it by the original number, 8. 4 divided by 8, 0.5 times 100, 50%. Okay. The next one, y'all, 52 divided by the original amount, 65. 52 divided by 65 times 100, 80%, right? Okay. One more, y'all, 102 divided by the original amount, 68. Sorry. 102 divided by 68 times 100, 150%, right? Sorry, I didn't write it here. 102 divided by 68. Okay. Y'all, amount of decrease, exactly the same way. Okay. We used to have 8, but we went down to 6. How much did we lose? 2. We used to have 25, but we went down to 20. How much did we lose? 5. Y'all, we used to have 160. Boom, we went all the way down to 40. Anybody know? 120, right? We went down by 120. Y'all, from 200 to 62, we went down to, or we lost 38. Okay. Y'all, just like we did before, we're going to take those amounts and we're going to divide them by the original one. Okay. So look, y'all, I'm going to write them out here and then I'll do my, 160. And I'll do my division and multiply by 100. Okay, so let's come back this way. 2 divided by 8 times 100, 25%. Okay. Y'all, 5 divided by 25 times 100, 20%. Okay. Y'all, 170 divided by, not 170, I think it was 120, divided by 160 times 100, 75%, right? It's supposed to be 120. And then finally, 38 divided by 200 times 100, 19%, right? And there we go. Okay. All right, guys, let's do this. Let's take a 10-minute break. Let's come back at 11:21, okay? Y'all, what I'm going to do, those of you who are online, I'm going to stop recording.